You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today, the one, the only, Domme Kat herself, Miss Domina Katarina. How are you, Domina?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course, folks, it has been a while since Domina has been on this show. Last time she was on, we were doing audio for this show. Now we are video, live, and in living color. And Domina, I got to say, first and foremost, you look fabulous as always.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Now, you have been on the grind as well. We're going to start with this. July 10th, you got another wrestling party coming up. A lot of foot surrender. We see Emma Switch in there, the lovely Miss Lana Luxor. Talk about this party coming up because you know how to throw a party, Miss Domina.
I apparently do. I am really excited. It's like the fourth or fifth wrestling party that I've had in New York. And so everyone is like a community wrestling. There's the public mat that's included in your ticket. So you can match up with guests or with your friends. And, you know, it's basically like a house party with wrestling mats. And then there are also the sessions. And we have so many more private areas for the sessions this time. Like it's amazing. I can't wait. So we have Emma Switch, we have Lana Luxor, we have Vivi Lane, we have Blaze, we have the Honorable Banshee. We even have providers that aren't necessarily wrestlers, but they are fetish providers. Akasha Onyx, we have Chloe Nova, Janae Alvaro, whole bunch of people. So I'm really excited. And the party is also there are vendors. So it's basically like it's a BDSM nightclub. It's a really chill like BDSM nightclub. And we'll have mocktails which you can infuse, or the venue is BYOB. So if you bring your own B, you can turn that mock into a cock and enjoy yourself that night.
Okay.
So I'm very about it.
We got to talk about this. First of all, I like the mock into your cock. I like your style. I like that strategic play. Okay. Well, first of all, I love it too as well because I'm going to put some image into you folks here. Now, when she talks about BYOB, I immediately go to System of a Down, talk about BYOB. Everybody's coming to the party, have a real good time. And yes, and I look at it from a stance too as well. Picture like Von der Sex and Eurotrip, that BDSM vibe, but with music and everything, and no Flugenhagen. So think of Von der Sex, but amplified. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And with this one, like we have the foot domination, because every party has an edutainment sort of component. Last time we had a whole ass, it was basically a murder mystery. It was you won prizes for guessing who stole the Camel Clutch Contessa's jewels. But this time we're going to do a quick lesson on foot domination, some foot fetish stuff, wrestling safety, and then we're just going to get everybody on the mat and ready to go.
See, I like that too because of the former, like you mentioned, Camel Clutch, and everybody thinks of Camel Clutch. They think of God Rest His Soul, the Iron Sheik. They think of the legendary Gory Guerrero. So you're including wrestling into it, which also the safe and spectacular vibes of how you go into the maneuver. And I think anything needs a variety. And I think a lot of that sometimes gets mixed, and a lot of people need to realize, like, people talk about staying to one thing, but I'm like, if you got music, you got wrestling, you got sessions, you got everything, it opens up the horizons for a lot of people because we talk about how in this particular industry, there's a lot of people that crap on it or maybe closed-minded, but I think what you're doing is bringing fun, you're bringing positivity, you're also expanding the horizons, letting people see it from a different lens. So I got to commemorate you on that because I think that's really awesome with what you're providing.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very excited, and each one is different. So one we had was bondage wrestling, we had pro style, we had asphyxiation with face sitting and breath control. So each one is going in October. We're going to have more of role play, sort of like a Comic-Con sort of vibe. And who knows what else we're going to do. And then we're just going to keep replaying them because, I mean, everyone is a little bit different. So it's really fun. And to see which providers provide, like, which specialty is theirs. I really like that. And showcasing newer faces. and maybe some faces that the wrestling guys don't necessarily see.
Well, I think when you have women like Emma Switch and Lana Luxer and many people also from the outside auspice of this, you have to have, like we mentioned, that variety, but also the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are on board with this. They like the idea. And I think, every idea, every journey starts somewhere, and we continue to learn and grasp things as we go forward. And I think with what you're providing here, and this brings me to the Sex Worker Survival Guide, first and foremost, very informative. You do a lot of meetings here and there and really bring the community together. I wanted to ask you how you got and came up with that whole idea, because I got to say, I'm very informative, and I really like what you're doing so far with the guide.
Thank you. It actually came about because when I first started, when you first start fetish filming, you're kind of just thrown in, and there's no class, there's no textbook. And when it comes to sex work, I mean, I am a privileged white cis dominatrix living in my, Brooklyn apartment, but the majority of sex workers and the real sex workers are people who aren't as protected. So the learning curve for this industry can often be psychological damage, physical injury, or arrest. So, I mean, we're seeing what's going on with, Pornhub's not allowed in Mississippi now, like
Yep.
Shit's going on. So we really have to network together, band together, and not gatekeep resources. That's what pissed me off in the beginning was you'd have to pay to find out how to do things safely. And I just thought that was just straight up dumb. I don't know what else to call it. It was just straight up dumb. So I said to my friend, Tiana, Glitosaurus Rex, hey, these are things I want to learn. Do you think other people want to learn them too? And we ended up having the 2-day, 3,000 attendee sponsored by Pornhub conference, which was the first one. Last year, we had the Career Summit, because once you learn how to survive, you deserve to thrive. And we're talking about bringing something back next year. But in between the big conferences, we also have the speaker series. So we just had a panel on harm reduction. We're not saying you should do drugs, or we're not telling you to do drugs. But if you do, here's how to do it a little bit more safely. Here are the supplies that you might need. Here are some tips and tricks that you might need. End of July, yes, July 30th, Dr. Christopher Awad is the medical director at an LGBT healthcare center in New Jersey, and I'm not doing it any sort of justice. It's way more impressive than what I just said. But he's going to come back and he's going to talk to us about healthcare, wellness. Last time he spoke about gender affirming care. So this time it's going to be more of an overview of LGBTQ affirming healthcare.
Here's what I love about that too. And I think as long as you know me, besides the fact that Domina, you and I are New Yorkers, if you will, I will put it like this. I think with what I do with this podcast and interviewing all you ladies, I was always very open-minded. I'm also very respectful to the sex worker community. And I look at it from a stance too as well. Sometimes people are just very, like we mentioned, closed-minded, but people don't understand in the ignorance of just the art form. Because if you really look at it, life is an art form. We're all applying our crafts. Everything that we're doing here is an art form. And I think from the survival guide type of thing is keeping everything safe. Also, like you mentioned, drugs, making sure that everything does go safely, whether you're drinking, whatever drug you take. It's one of the things where I look at it from a stance too as well. It's great to be informative on that, but also at the same time, we talk about opening minds and opening horizons. You have to look at the sex work industry besides the modeling, the fetish, whatever, not just the communities that are great into it, but people really get a different perspective of what you see in front of the camera, behind the camera, and just the overall industry. And I think that could be very impactful to a lot, not just the young ladies, but people that are in the industry as a whole.
Yeah, because that's what creates the dangerous conditions, is when people don't understand and that stigma is applied. That's when things get dangerous. If stigma wasn't there and people were open to learning about things that they didn't quite understand, it would be a lot safer out here for people. I mean, let's destroy poverty and all those things that create the need for this labor. But I mean, personally, for me, I was a journalism major. So every time that I'm editing a clip and my mom calls, I'm like, just using my college degree, Mom. Sitting on some faces.
But no, I love that. And I think like you talk about with Clips Restore and how people can use to navigate it. First and foremost, for those who have not checked out Domina's Clips Restore, superb. I want to put it like this, and now chef's kiss. But one of those things I will say about this as well, like from the content creation standpoint, Clips for Sale has so much great story, the Clips Restore, everything that goes into it. I always love that just because I think there's so much stuff out there, but everything that I can provide it in just one little simple thing. I mean, we see with YouTube now with the shorts, Clips for Sale and everything for those clip stores, man. It's just such a hot commodity for you ladies.
Yeah, yeah. And it really is a great place because I mean, there are things that I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to be, doing this, wearing that kind of thing. But sometimes there are clips where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to learn a new editing, let's ghost this and something in Premiere Pro and like really get creative and fun with it because it's not just fetish, it's not just porn. To me, it's art. It's a way to be able to express myself and flex my creative muscles.
I think creativity is key in everything, like you mentioned, the creative muscles. And what I also like to as well, I mean, we've had so many streaming sites, like you talk about adult world, porn world, what have you. Like you look at OnlyFans and the introduction of many vids, even especially during a time with the pandemic where we're all just in our houses going nuts, but it's become a very lucrative offer for a lot of women. And it's a community where you get to talk a lot of fans. So the OnlyFans is blowing up the many vids. I think we're seeing more into that, like you mentioned, Pornhub. There's just so much around here that's really at our fingertips now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I mean, I have OnlyFans, I have Fansly, I have Sex Panther, I have Night Flirt, I have, but if these platforms are there, they create an easier way for me to connect with my fans, and even booking sessions. I know we're not supposed to talk about IRL things on certain platforms, but being able to talk to someone that I'm going to be meeting up with, and talk about their fantasies, their desires, even if it's something that necessarily we won't get to, but just hearing like, oh, I've never tried candles. Oh, let me bring my candles with me so we can do some wax play. Oh, I've never done electro. Okay, I'm bringing my kit, and just be able to see like how they want to feel in a session, whether they're a submissive or a fetishist or a hedonist. Everybody wants to feel a certain juicy way in a session. So it's a really nice way to be able to connect and ensure that both of us have a really good time.
First and foremost, folks, let's just put over the true pro that you are, Miss Domina Katarina, because you offer so many great sessions. And I will say this, I've seen a lot of the clips from the sessions. What I love about it too is as well, like you mentioned, the kits and everything with the candles. There's something for everybody in the uniqueness that that person's into. And we talk about accommodation and comfortability. I think seeing your work, and it shows definitely on the camera with what you've done with Doom Maidens and everything in general, it really just shows the fun that you have into it. And I think a lot of people can admire and see that hard work shine through on camera.
And also bringing it back to the wrestling parties, that's the great thing about Surrender is it's wrestling and something else, because there are so many ways that because people don't realize wrestling is BDSM, right? Trash talk is verbal humiliation. Like we need to have conversations about this stuff. People are like, oh, I'm not kinky, and yet they're slapping their wife's ass when they're having sex. That's kink, y'all. You are kinky. So if you're wrestling, you're kinky, you're part of our community. So it's really nice to be able to show like how these different things can come together and create something completely unique.
Well, I think you also need that first and foremost. I'm going to put this as the kinky side of things. That is a great interpretation and analysis of what professional wrestling is. Because in a way, like we talk about the internal and external part of maneuvers and telling a great story, you can also tell a great story with being kinky, like you mentioned, slapping on the ass, what have you. There's so much that goes into it. And a lot of people kind of, as they say, let your freak flag fly, so to speak. Sometimes you just got to let it loose, man. You need to have that. There's so many different variations that we see kink really being stored in today's society.
Yeah, and that's the thing about with sessions. I really like for me, I feel more comfortable when I have a clear understanding of like where things fit into the system, right? So when the way I approach sessions is we talk about what we like, what we don't like, and we create a box, a really safe container. And then within that container, we get to go bonkers. That's my favorite part about this, because then we get to create almost like a mini vacation, for the two of us, whether it's an hour or 2 hour session, we get to create an experience together. And I get to create, that's my favorite part of this job, honestly, is creating an experience for someone else, and having them leave with that feeling that they were craving.
And I think what's great about it too as well, there's so much market for everything out there. And I'm going to put it to you like this. So I remember as a kid, and I'll equate this to the Vondersex with Eurotrip. I'll make another pop culture reference here. Like when you're watching like True Life, MTV had a big, episode about this. Like if you look at the dominatrix world, and like we've talked about your dominatrix stuff in the past, and we'll talk about it here, it's amazing just to see just the popularity, just what everybody's into, but also at the same time, like you mentioned here, everything in life, it's all about fun. And I think giving that person that experience in the session from the clientele side of things and from the session the session E, so to speak, I think it really does go full throttle into it. And I think there's so many different things a lot of people can take from it. And I'm going to say this first and foremost right now. For those who have not seen Domina's dominatrix side and her vibes over here, we got ass smothering, we got hitting them with the whips. We got a lot that goes into that, ma'am. And I got to say, you use your assets to the best of your abilities.
I certainly do. I'm sitting on them right now.
But no, that's also what I've also appreciated about that too. And here's why I make this in the most possible and nicest way ever. It's the external beauty, like we talk about your assets, so to speak, and everything. I think you also provide within how you shine throughout your overall mind, body, and soul, Miss Domina, much like all the women in the sessions wrestling community. It's that voluptuosity factor. It's that body confidence, so to speak. And you're just letting it shine through within the beautiful imagery, the work and exemplified sexiness, man. As we talk about, sex sells, and you're really doing your damn thing on that front.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? Honestly, nothing is more sexy, at least to me, than confidence. So, if somebody is walking in and just feels good about themselves, they love and approve of themselves. To me, that already gives somebody like a magnetism.
It's that exuding factor too as well that people gravitate towards and drawn to. And I think what's great about it too as well, in a world where there is a lot of negativity, and we see it, especially in 2023, having that light, that positivity really goes a long way through, because you have to look at it from an optimistic standpoint, and also just like we talk about a positive standpoint. If you could be that light in someone's life, or just in general, and a simple thank you, a manner, what have you, it's the subtleties, the intricacies, and the nuances that really go into shedding that positivity and really being that light,
And even when you were mentioning everyone else in the session industry, just look at the lineup for the wrestling part. Bodies are different, styles are different. Everyone has a different look combined with their own personality and their own style. So there really is, community over competition. We are a community, and there's room for all of us, and all of us have something amazing to offer. I mean, that's the beauty of femdom. You hate your feet, I guarantee you, in 5 minutes, you'll find someone who wants to suck on them. You take the things that you don't really like about yourself, and there is someone who wants to worship that. That is so beautiful, to just be like, this is how we're connecting as humans, especially in a world where we're virtual. We don't get skin to skin contact. We don't get one-on-one performances. When I'm in a session, it's an audience of one. And I definitely, I appreciate that I get to hold them captive like that.
Oh, that's why you are the Dom Cat that you are. And I look at it from the stats too as well. Like you talk about something like, so you may not like your feet, but somebody will. Like a lot of people have different fetishes. Like I've seen folks, there's like armpit fetishes out there. Like you may not like your armpits, but hey, somebody's gonna like your armpit. Somebody may like your shoulders. Somebody might like your shoulders. There's so much out there for people. And you mentioned the session community and the, community over competition. The community, the camaraderie really goes into everything. And I think that makes the session wrestling industry thrive. And what you do, I mean, we see Jennifer Thomas do her thing with Women's Athletes on Fire. There's so much out there from the east side to the west side, to quote Blackstreet, no diggity, no doubt. There's something for everybody. Yes, you have to bag it up. I like your style, Miss Domina, but yes, no, that's the main thing about it. I think the community from the east side to the west side all around the world, and the equality really stands up and really thrives through. And there's levels to everything,
And I'm really excited when you mentioned the West Side. I am very excited to finally get to the West Coast. I cannot wait to set those dates. Pre-Pando, I was all ready, and then everything lit itself on fire. So I'm very excited to come up with some tour dates for that. I'm going to upstate New York with Lana Luxor at the end of July. I'm going to DC, actually going to Delaware, trying out Delaware for a change. And yeah, gonna put some more dates down: Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and work my way over to the West Coast, so I can get myself to Vegas, I can get myself to LA, because I would really love to work with even go to a Jennifer Thomas event. I haven't done that yet. So
All right.
it's coming. It's coming.
Well, I can't wait to see it. And I will say this, folks, if you've not experienced a Women Athletes on Fire event live, it is something to behold. And if you've not done a session with Domina or seen her work, first of all, ma'am, I wish I was in New York right now because you're on the Long Island side. You're doing Westbury, Long Island, my old stomping grounds over there. I grew up right around there. So I know you're going to be touring over there, a fellow New Yorker here. I will say, folks, if you've not been to Long Island, if you've not been to upstate New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. To quote Frank Sinatra, New York is the site, baby.
Yeah, and look at me acknowledging that New York City isn't the only part of New York. So
All right, here's the thing, too, and I'm going to say this right now. So my best friend is a big hockey fan, right? And as you know, the Long Islanders love the Islanders, and the people more towards the city love the Rangers. Here's what I always say to that. There was always that baseball rivalry with the Yankees and the Mets. I liked both. The Islanders and the Rangers. I liked both. But I also look at it from a stance, too, as well. I get the rivalry. I get the thrive of the competition. But I'm going to say this, and I might get controversial, but New York is New York, baby. And New York is New York.
I'm not going to argue with you there. And outside, they just lit off some fireworks in celebration of your comments. I think my neighborhood agrees.
Hell yes. And it's not just because it's the 4th of July, because we're saying some empowerment stuff here.
We are killing it. Yes.
But I will say this, like you talk about being safe, and I'm going to say, folks, it is 4th of July weekend. We got 4th of July coming on Tuesday. If you are going out, Bill, PSA here, be safe. Don't be stupid. I will say that, though, because that is very important.
Yes. Especially, listen, 4th of July happens. The next week is my party. I would like to see you intact. Please don't do anything silly with fireworks. Take care of your pets. Make sure your pets aren't upset. Do what you can to keep them comfortable. And don't forget, people have PTSD too. So do you have to do fireworks?
Okay.
Just something to think about.
I'm gonna put it out here because we're gonna go down this rabbit hole here, folks. I live in Myrtle Beach. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. First of all, one of the tourist capitals of the world. Beautiful place. If you've never been to Myrtle Beach, you're in for a treat. I look at it from a stance too as well. As a local now, and I'm gonna put it to you like this: when you're not here for a couple days or like a week for vacation, god dang it, man. Like fireworks up to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, again, it's buggy out here, man. When it comes to everything that comes into the fireworks, they bug out. To put it the bluntest way, everybody bugs out down here with fireworks, and I'll put it to you straight like that. New York is something, but when you're down south here, oh man, it is a bonanza, if you will, on the fireworks side of things.
Is that what Myrtle Beach is? Just like constant fireworks? Are you always like?
Well, I mean, when you got the Myrtle Beach Pelicans over here when they play their baseball games, and you got Broadway at the beach lighting it up every time, man. Hey, it's a spectacle. It's a spectacle. But no, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think that's how everything, whether it be state, city, or town, love what you do, live, where you come from. It's a spectacle, especially with anything in the equating this thing called life. What is a spectacle now is Lingerie Fighting Championships. This show Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, where we showcase the 3 elements that make women the work of art that they are. And all of this is encompassed in today's conversation. LFC is now on Tubi, where you could see the events of Lingerie Fighting Championships. You get to see some prospects. You get to see so many fighters. And this prospect over here, and I got to put over you, Miss Domina Katarina, the Domme Kat, because with this show, we always talk about the entrance and everything that goes into it, internally and externally. You, my friend, whether it's lingerie or what have you, always looking good, showcasing your confidence as we exemplified here. I wanted to ask you, for a lot of the LFC fans, they love the L in the LFC, Lingerie Fighting Championships. So what is the Domme Kat, Domina Katarina's? What's some of your favorite lingerie? Let's get into the style and profiling here, Domina. What's some of your favorite lingerie?
My favorite lingerie, well, everything's a thong, whether or not it is intended to be or not. It's gonna go up my assets, as we said. So everything is going to be definitely a thong. I don't like wearing pants so much, so I do a lot of bodysuits. Red, black, and silver are pretty much my like core colors, but as you see, I have green on. Like to mix it up a little bit. Because really, I mean, that's the beauty of fetish wrestling is I don't need a flogger. I don't need high heels. I don't need latex. I don't need leather. I can just dominate you the way I am. I can dominate you in bare feet and underwear. So that's the fun part of it.
I will say this to quote Cisco, as he once sang that thong to thong, thong, thong. I think that first of all, thong is very simple. It's simplistic, but it's sexy at the same time. And I think a lot of people kind of dive away from that sort of thing because they kind of go, it's creative, but it's like a simple thong is nice. And I'll put it to for example here. Like when you're watching TRL and they're going to Cancun, folks, you know what I'm saying? You see the girls, they're walking down the runway, maybe NSYNC's performing over here. Hell, put on some Eminem, My Name Is. Like that simplistic of just seeing that, it goes a long way. That's simple sexiness, like I say. Keep it simple, stupid, simple sexiness right at its peak, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I don't mind some thigh highs and a garter. I
Hey,
will say I do not mind some thigh highs and a garter and some long gloves. I'm a big fan of gloves, whether they're long motorcycle gloves. I love fingerless gloves. So even my lingerie style is a little bit more less lace and more I don't know what, but
no, I get it. I'm put an image in here. It's like the old bodysuit, and I'm gonna put the dominatrix vibe here. Picture Madonna in Human Nature, folks. When she's got the whip and she's got the dog, and that whole entire video. Express yourself, don't repress yourself. Picture some Madonna Human Nature up in there.
yes, yes. And you know what? I had a friend I remember in college, and that was the thing that she always said. She's like, when in doubt, be Madonna. Just be Madonna. And that's exactly the image that you think of. It is that badass, in control dominatrix Madonna. So, and even now I'm like, when in doubt, be Beyonce. I mean, clearly.
Well, first and foremost, I will say this about Madonna first. First of all, legend has evolved each and every decade that she's performed in. And I will talk about Bey from her days in Destiny's Child and Bugaboos and, Say My Name to where she blossomed into that solo career. She is another very much empowering force in the community, not just for the great vocalist that she is. She's another one that really has stand the test of time. And god dang, man, she's been around since what, 98, 99, 20 plus years of Beyonce, right? Isn't that crazy?
Or that's insanity to even imagine. But I mean, listen, your ass is fat and your voice is in the basement. Like, you're sexy. You're sexy. That's how I wake up every day. I'm like, ass still fat. I'm good.
Well, that is a fat with a PH. I like your style, Miss Domina Katarina. Yes. And I will say this. Well, first of all, that's the best part about it too. Like we talk about assets and everything on a body. Women are a work of art. And god dang it, man, speaking of work and art, I love the equality, like we mentioned, going to your wrestling party, especially folks. You'll see that with LFC, the women in different shapes, sizes, what have you. God dang it, man, it's a good time to be in a female combative nature, female fetish modeling. It's just a badass time for all the females out there, especially yourself, Miss Tomcat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. And before we close this thing out, first and foremost, I love talking to you. And I definitely want to have you back on for another one. This will be your round 3. You are always such a delight. I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. And this new format is great. I like that I can see your face and we get to interact. So
Of course. But no, that's the beautiful thing. And I'm going to say this right now. If you do come to Vegas, hit up a Women's Athletes on Fire, hit up an LFC. I know you will dominate on the West Coast in both forms.
I cannot wait. So stay tuned because it's going to happen.
And I can't wait for it to happen. And you, my friend, keep on keeping on. And before we keep on keeping on to the break of dawn here, please promote. You got Twitter, you got Instagram, you're all over the place. Let us know where we can find you, Domina.
The Domme Kat is pretty much everywhere. So it's Linktree, TheDommeKat. My website's getting a rehaul, so it's thedominakatarina.com right now instead of the Domme Kat. But Twitter, OnlyFans, FetLife, all the things. I'm the Domme Kat. 2 M's with a K.
Double M, 1K. I like your style, marketing, branding. Hell yeah. And first of all, let's just be honest here. Domme Kat, Domina Katarina. It's all a name. Beautiful name at that. I think it does sell you very well as much as well. The Domina, the Domme Kat. I like it. It's a nice flavor to it. I do have to say that. I got to put you over for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that Domme Kat, Tomcat sort of rhymey scheme. It's kind of like gritty and in the alley. I'm going to beat you up. I kind of like that.
Well, first of all, now that you put that out there, everybody's going to be like looking down the alleys for the Domme Kat coming through. It's like, and I'm going to put this, and yeah, that's clawing at him. I'll put an image in people's heads. So, all right. Anyway, we'll go the adult realm here. Okay. So I remember when I was a kid and when Hollywood Video was around too. So we're dating our ages here, folks. Hollywood Video. So HBO at the time, this was like circa 2003, right? So we're starting to get more into like more the parodies of the adult entertainment industry, right? So Spider-Man The first one with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, that infamous scene where they're kissing in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a variation of that, but the adult film version of it was Spider Babe, and you had this badass female. I forgot the name of the adult star who was in it. It's Spider Babe, and they have sex in the alley, and there's a lot of sexual scenes, but it really does a great adaptation of like an adult version of Spider-Man, and I will recommend that to anybody. It's early 03, but Spider Babe, and especially just kick-ass names, right?
Hell yeah. I love that. I love that. Love some cosplay too. Gosh, if I could dress up as Harley Quinn, Catwoman, give me some costumes. I love that stuff.
Okay, we'll add this here because now that you brought this up, you've opened it up again. So cosplaying, first and foremost, I think what's very sexy about that too as well. As a 90s baby, I think everybody can equate the image here. When Britney Spears had Baby One More Time and she's dressed as a Catholic girl and many different cosplays and stuff, I think from the superhero side of things, not just the big community, but it just shows the sexiness of just the empowerment of the image that you partake as a certain character, a certain persona. I think that really does showcase not just the confidence, but god dang, it's still sexy to this day. Keeping it simple on the sexy side.
And that's the thing. People sometimes take being sexy a little too seriously. And being sexy can be fun. It can be funny. You can laugh while you're, spider babing in the alley. Everything. Listen, it's gonna be spider babe from here on out. But that's the thing about cosplay is, first you get to pretend you're someone that you're not, which is, always its own little sexy surprise. Being able to take on characteristics of a character, Harley Quinn is a badass. Are you a little more meek? Okay. Get your pigtails, get your pink and blue eyeshadow, whatever you're going, put that heart on your cheek because now you're a badass. And it's a great way to try out an extra part of your personality you might not have used so much.
Oh, agreed. Especially with the guys, you can be Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, whatever. For the ladies, you could be, the Harley Quinns, like you mentioned. You could be whatever, Batgirl, what have you. I think that's what's great about the superhero genre and all those genres and personas. And now we're gonna put a new hashtag here, hashtag Spider Babing It Up. You just put that out there into the universe. We're manifesting it. Hello. And I think we'll talk about sexiness, and I'm going to add one more pop culture reference, folks. It's like LMFAO, Domina Katarina, you're sexy, and you know what? Look at that body. Hello. So before we close this out, yes, there it is. Before we close this out, as I always say, folks, life is an art form, and we're all applying our crafts. Continue to apply your craft in amazing fashion. And as the title of this show is, and also my mindset, beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And the Domme Kat, hell yes, Domina Katarina, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fight, fight, fight! Gonna kick some